Thank you very much, and I just again appreciate that you have come forward. In your book, you wrote that Facebook remade American news media by inserting Facebook at the center of it, driving down ad rates for newspapers, and distributing their stories using their content to boost time spent on Facebook. Senator Kennedy and I, as a side, have a bill to push negotiations for the price of content, which I think is really important. But could you explain how Meta uses news content to boost time spent on Facebook, and how that allows Facebook to sell more advertising without paying publishers their fair share?
I mean, the key thing that Meta is obsessed with is engagement. It's keeping people's attention on the services that Meta owns for as long as possible, using whatever tools it can. So definitely the work of publishers and the work of many dedicated journalists, and also increasingly they're utilizing AI to keep engagement, often AI based on the work of journalists and authors.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And when discussing ways to promote a healthy news market, you quoted Mr. Zuckerberg as saying, quote, "You're compromising with the dying industry rather than dominating it, crushing it." What do you see with your experience as a consequence of Facebook is allowed to dominate and crush an independent news media?
I think every citizen has seen the consequences of these actions, and I think we're all the poorer for it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. When discussing the role that political ads play in Facebook's business, you observed that peddling outrage and stretching the truth were just part of the game, and that outrage is a lucrative business for Facebook. I care about this a lot, just being in this business of politics, and how we know how negativity is awarded online, not just Facebook, in all of the algorithms in these companies, and it's actually completely changed the ecosystem that we work in. Can you elaborate more on how stoking political outrage is profitable for Facebook and ramifications for democracy?
I think we're all living with the consequences of this every day. As I said before, what this company wants is to dominate as much time and attention as it can of every, not just in this country, as many billions as they can. And what they've learned is that outrage is a really good way to do that, but it doesn't, whatever it takes to have people glued to these services in their power, in their thrall, they'll do it.
The major focus of this hearing, of course, on China, and I have to say that I found that whole piece of this ironic, because when Senator Grassley and I were trying to pass our bill about the self-preferencing, which was also, of course, got the ire of Google and Amazon, these other companies. You remember that day well when we had the hearing, Senator Hawley, the markup on this bill. Well, one of the things that kept being thrown in my face and in those of others that work on this is China. You're actually going to destroy us, and then China will dominate. And at one point, another senator actually said that was what national security officials said. And anticipating that, I'd actually gone around to the then head of the FBI, the head of the CIA. I'd called them all or seen them at things. And while they were getting in the business of endorsing, they said, no, this idea of doing something about putting consumer protections in and saying you can't put your own product all the time at the top of the search engine, that did not hurt our national security vis-a-vis China, but that is what they claim, and that's what's so interesting about your experience and your testimony. And your book actually reveals the extent to which Facebook was willing to put growth over the U.S. national interest to gain favor with the Chinese Communist Party, as you pointed out in your testimony today. In fact, and I know Senator Grassley asked you about this, you wrote, Meta started briefing the Communist Party as early as 2015. You talked about this today. The explicit goal being to help China outcompete American companies. Could you elaborate on that?
I think to pick up on your point, Senator, Meta is very quick to say, don't do anything that can hurt us because you'll let China win. You know, you'll let China win on AI. You'll let China win and gain the technological advantage. And the whole time, the company that's done the most to help China gain a technological advantage is Meta.
So do you believe Facebook is an honest broker? This is called a softball. When it claims competition reforms would harm the U.S. ability to compete with China? Because I'm telling you, we hear this all the time. So every time we try to bring up any of these bills.
I hope what we've discussed today, Senator, helps you push back very firmly and gives you something to create some real accountability.
And then finally, Senator Cruz and I mentioned we have this bill, Take It Down, that's passed the Senate. Just your view that if Meta puts its considerable engineering expertise toward the problem of removing non-consensual intimate images that have the power to ruin lives, or even the selling of fentanyl or some of these other things, do you think they could do it?
Senator, they've shown to the Chinese Communist Party that when they're motivated to get something, to remove something, they can be absolutely expert in it very fast.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.